Hello friends, welcome back. We have seen in the last class how do we use the params keyword. So you need to write the keyword params just before the array type. So you have object array and the variable name. Let's move on and get some idea. Let us get some more idea about params keyword and few more examples. Let's take one example where we can find the params keyword. Let us take an example that we have a mathf structure. There we have a function called as max and we have a function called as min. Can you see here? We have params keyword, then an integer array, then values. Now if you go, it has params keyword for integer and float. Two different functions are there and few are other functions like this will give you minimum of a and b. This will give you any number of values you can pass in this place. That's the meaning of that. Let me show that the example for that. Let's take one integer variable which is going to be min value. Then I say mathf dot min. In bracket I can pass any number of values here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is an integer array, right? It takes any number of values that you pass and it returns back us a minimum value out of that. So save it and you can say debug.log, you can say min value, right? Let us save and come back to Unity, and if I run the code, you can see that you have 1 is the minimum value. Here is a real example that we have in our Unity. Even you can take the max. Max is also having the params, int array, values. You can pass the integers in this way and get the result back. Let us save, and this is going to be a max value. This is going to be a max value. I just save it, it will return us 5 as the maximum value. If I run the code, you can see that you have 5 as the maximum value. I hope you guys understood how if you want to use any function where you have such a syntax, okay, what you need to pass there. How do you pass the values and get the result back? Now let's take one example. Let us take, I want to create my own max function, which is going to behave something like max function or a method in the mathf structure. So what I do is I create a function with a return type as an integer because I want to get a maximum value. Then I say find max, that is my own function, and I say params keyword because I want to get the maximum out of any number of values that I pass to find max. So I create one integer array and I say here let's take numbers is an array. I pass numbers to it and it will return me the maximum of all those numbers. So what I need to do is I just create one temporary variable called as max, and what I do, I set first value numbers of 0, that is the first element of this array, that is going to be the max. Then what I do, I write a for loop for I is equal to 0. Okay, not 0th element I need not to work with, I can work with from first, and I is less than numbers dot length. Okay, I need to go up to the last element because first one I have already considered as a max. Then I can check if the numbers of I is greater than the maximum value, okay, max value that I have stored here. I want that max, the max should be numbers of I. So this will give us the maximum element at the end of this loop, and I can just say return the max, semicolon. Let us save this one and Let's check it out. So I create here int max value and say equal to find max. You can see I'm using my own function called as find max. It is asking for params integer array. So I can pass here, let's take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bracket close, semicolon. I just save this and I say debug.log max value. So let us save this and let's check it out what happens here. I put a breakpoint so that we understand what is happening. Let's check it out. We have max value here. This max value is 0 because we are going to get that at present. When I run this, when this line will get executed, it is going to call the find max function, right? So let's move on. Now you have numbers array. You can see that it is created numbers array. 0th element is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Max is 0. If I execute this, numbers of 0 is what? That is 1. 1 will be stored in the max. You can see that max is 1. We are considering first max as equal to 1. That is the first element. Then we are going to compare whether this next element is greater than the max. If the next element is greater than the max, then we set that element as the max. So I is equal to 1. 1 is less than 5. The condition is true. As the condition is true, it will come inside and it checks whether the numbers of 1, that is the numbers of 1 is 2. Whether 2 is greater than max, max is 1, right? 2 is greater than 1, the condition is true. As the condition is true, we are going to set that 2 to max. You can see now max has become 2. After that I is going to get increment, I plus plus, I is going to become 2. 2 is less than 5 is true, so it goes inside. Then numbers of 2 is what? 3. Whether 3 is greater than max, max is now 2. 3 is greater than 2 is true. As the condition is true, it will set 3 to max. You can see that max is now 3. Then I is going to become 3. 3 is less than 5 is true. So numbers of 3, what is numbers of 3? That is 4. And what is max? Max is 3. Whether 4 is greater than 3, the condition is true. As the condition is true, we are going to set numbers of 3, that is 4, to max. So max is going to become 4 now. You can see that. Then we are going to proceed. Then I is going to become 4. 4 is less than 5 is true. It goes inside. Numbers of 4. What is numbers of 4? That is 5. 5 is greater than max. Max is 4 now. You can see. So numbers of 4, that is 5. 5 is greater than 4 is true. It goes inside. And it sets numbers of 4, that is 5. 5 will be assigned to max. And you can see max is now 5. Then I is going to become 5. 5 is less than 5 is false. It comes out. And at present you can see we have found max already. Max is 5, guys. So 5 will be returned back here and max is assigned to 5, and when we debug.log max value, we get the maximum value on the screen. You can see that 5 is the maximum value. This is how you can create your own useful functions which return the max output, right? And let us take, we have already in mathf structure, we have already a function called as max, which gives us maximum of n numbers. Let us take, there is no function called as sum, which gives me sum of all the numbers. So what I can do is I can create one more function. Let's take int find sum, my own function. This is going to be a params integer array, and I say this one as numbers, and this will give me the sum. So first what I do, int sum is equal to 0 I can set, or I can take numbers of 0 also, there is no problem, right? So for I is equal to 0, I is less than numbers dot length. We know already how to find out the sum of numbers. While we are learning arrays we have used. So here I say sum plus equal to numbers of I. We are going to get each and every element, we are going to add to sum, and we return the sum. So we are going to return the sum back, and let us take, I want to get that sum back. Int sum value is equal to find sum. I use my own sum function and I can pass here values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I can say debug.log display sum value. So what should I get sum value? 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 5, 15. I should get 15 here. Save, and let me remove the breakpoint. Let us check it out. And you can see that we got 15 at the end. I hope you guys are understanding how do we create our own useful functions like mathf has different functions. There are many situations. If you find anywhere something like this, you should understand that you should pass variable number of values there according to your requirement. And even you can pass the array also. We come to that soon. So we have created our own function. You can create different functions, maybe finding the minimum, finding the maximum, whether the element is there or not, maybe searching, right? Searching an element in the list of numbers. Let us get some rules of params keyword. Void find or find, just find function, and params, an integer array called numbers, and I want to find an integer item. Okay, I put a bracket close, opening brace, closing brace. Okay. If I write like this, I have written params integer array numbers int item. I just save it and come back. I want to show you an error message. We got an error. Now what is that error? We have to understand first. A params parameter must be the last parameter in a formal parameter list. So this is our formal parameter list, right? When we are calling this function, we will pass actual parameter list. So here in the formal parameter list, the params keyword should always be available or kept as the last parameter. If I cut this from here, Control X, comma, paste over here. Now you should not get that error message because we have kept the params parameter at the last in the formals parameter list. Can you see that? The error has gone. Remember this rule. Now I can write one code for this one also. Okay, just for linear search you can say. This is actually a linear search or find. Okay, you can give any name here, any suitable function name here. So let us try this, and it is going to return a boolean value whether the element is available or not. That's it. Okay, so I use a for I is equal to 0, I is less than numbers dot length I plus plus. Okay, we have already seen this this code when we were learning linear search in arrays. So here I check if item is equivalent to numbers of I. If it matches to any element, then I am going to just return true, item found. Okay, return true. Else, not else I can say, I just say return false. Return true, return false. I will explain anyhow this code to you people. Okay. Now here I create one boolean variable, or you can see that when I call find function, it is returning me a boolean and it is asking which item to found. So I say here I pass whether the item 3 is present or not, and in an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first value will be stored in this one and the remaining values will be stored in this array. And as we know that it is going to return us boolean back, so I say I create one boolean variable called r value equal to, okay, if r value is equivalent to true, if return value is true, then I say debug.log item found, else debug dot log item not found. Let us save this and run and check whether it returns true or false. Because 3 is present in this list, it should return me true back, and I should see item found on the output. Let us save and come back. Do we have any errors? I don't think we have any errors. So let us run and check whether we get item found or not. You can see that we got item found. Nice. Let's move to the next step and check out whether 8 I will put. If I say 8, item should not be found. I just save and run the code. You can see that item not found. Can you see that we have created our own useful function which tells us whether the item is present or not in that list? And let us understand how the code is working. Let me first start with the item found. Let us take 2 I am searching for, or 3 I am searching for. Let's take 3 and let us save and check out. And let me run the code. Let's see how code is working, guys. Okay, so our value is false. By default you can see that. Now the find is going to be called. We go there. Now let us check it out. Item is having 3, that is the one which we have passed the first value, right? The first value is copied to the first variable. The next, the numbers array is filled with the remaining values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will be 0, 0 is less than 5 is true, so it goes inside. It checks whether numbers of 0, that is 1, is equal to item. Item is 3. No. As the condition is false, it will not execute this line. It simply goes to I++. Now I is going to become 1. 1 is less than 5 is true. So it goes inside. Then it checks numbers of 1, that is 2. Whether 2 is equal to 3? No. As the condition is false, it is not going to execute this line. It just goes to I++. I is going to become now 2. 2 is less than 5 is true. So it goes inside and it checks whether numbers of 2, that is 3, right? Numbers of 2 is 3. Whether 3 is equal to item. Yes, item is 3. So 3 is equal to 3 is true. As the condition is true, you can see that we are returning true. What is the meaning of return keyword? It just quits the function. It returns the control back, and while returning we are giving true. And we execute that. You can see now. And true is stored in the R value. You can see that R value is now true. So as R value equal to true, it is going to execute item found. Goes over here and we display item found. Okay, we got the output item found. Okay guys, so now let us see for item not found. Okay, I just put over here 8, which is not available in this list. Now I just reduce the, or I keep it, no problem. Maybe you get confused. Let us run the code again and check out how it works. So remember that here what happens is when we pass item 8 and the list, this in the for loop, this return true will never execute. The control will just simply escape from, it will never execute this. It will execute all the statement and come to this place. So we return false if item not found. Okay, let us check it out. So first our value is false. You can see that, and find is going to be called. Item is 8, you can see here, and the numbers array is already available over here, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I is 0, 0 is less than 5 is true, it comes inside. Whether item 8 is equal to numbers of 0, which is 1. Whether 8 equal to 1, false. As the condition is false, it goes to I++. I is going to become 1. 1 is less than 5 is true, it comes inside. Numbers of 1 is 2. Whether 2 is equal to 8? No. As the condition is false, I++. I is going to become 2. 2 is less than 5 is true, it goes inside. Whether numbers of 2, that is 3. 3 is equal to 8? No. It is not going to execute this. And I++. I is going to become this time 3. 3 is less than 5 is true, it comes inside. Numbers of 0 is 4. 4 is equal to 8? No. As the condition is false, it will not execute this. It goes to I++. I is going to become 4. 4 is less than 5 is true. It comes inside. Numbers of 4 is 5. 5 is equal to 8. No, as the condition is false, it is not going to execute this. It goes to I plus plus. I is going to become 5. 5 is less than 5 is false. So it will come to this line. You can see that it has executed all the lines. It comes over here and return false. So false will be returned back to R value. You can see that R value is false. As R value is equal to true, no, as this condition becomes false, it will go to this place item not found. Goes over here, you can see that execute item not found. This is the way how you can use the param keyword, which is really useful when you are working with different number of params. You can even check, you can pass more values, maybe 20 or 30, right? You want to check whether 8 is present in this list or not. Now, I would like to talk about the default values. Now, let us take, you have a function, void, let's take some function, let's take display function, I take. I have integer value x, integer y, like this. Then I just say debug.log, display the value of x, debug.log, display the value of y. What I do here, I say display, and I have to pass two values, right? If I do not pass any value, definitely I am going to get the error message. There is no such a display function. It says that no overload for method display takes 0 arguments. So it is telling that I must and should have to give one value. If I run, it is telling that all compiler errors have to be fixed before you execute your code. So let us fix that. Now I pass, let us take one parameter I pass. Let us take I pass 10. This is also an error because we don't have any function called display which takes only one parameter. This function takes two parameters. So I have to pass two values here. If I save and run, try to run, you will get an error message with another message. No overload for method display takes one argument. So you have to pass two arguments. So now I passed 20. Okay, now this time we should not have any problem. If I come over here, the error will not be available because we have passed the required number of values. And if I run the code, I will get the output as 10 and 20. Nice. Now let us take, I don't know what to pass in this place. I don't know. I do not want to pass this value only. I want to pass only 10. That is my intention is. So what I need to do in that situation means I can take a help of default values. So here what I do, I say default value 0. How do you give default value? Means you have to write the data type, the variable name equal to sign, then default value. What is the meaning of that? Means if you do not pass a value to me, then I will consider as the value will be 0. That is the default value. Now this time, if I save and run, you won't get any error message. Let me show that. There is no error. What is the reason behind that? Okay, let us run and check what output I get. The output I got is 10 and 0. Why I am getting 0? The reason is this is default value. When you call a display function and you pass 10 to it, that 10 will be stored in the first parameter. If you do not pass any value to this one, then it will store 0 in y. Then when you say debug.log x, it will display the x value, that is 10. And y value, as you have stored 0, it will display 0. Let us take you stored 10 here. Now what output I should get? Let us take this one, I gave a 20. Okay, what output I should get? This 10 will be copied to x. So debug.log x will display 10. As you are not passing any value here, it will take 20 as the value of y. This is the default value. Okay, 20 will be assigned. It will display 20 on the screen. So you should get 10 and 20 on the screen. Okay, let me clear this and run the code. You see that you got 10 and 20. Let's move to the next step. Let us take I pass second parameter also. Let's take it is, you can see it is showing already into y default value is 20. You want to display something else. I do not want default value. I want 30 to be assigned. Now what happens means, this is an important part. Now what happens means 10 will be assigned to this. If you pass yourself a value, let us take 30 you have passed, 30 will be assigned to y, not the default value. If you do not pass any value here, then the 20 will be assigned. So if I run this code, I should get the output 10 and 30. Let us save, come back and run the code. You got 10 and 30 this time. You can see that you didn't get 20. So that is the meaning of default value. Default values, if you have given, that means they are optional. If you want to give a value to them, give, otherwise need not. If you do not give a value, then the default value will be taken. If you give a value, that value will be taken. Let us take, you have one more variable called z. If you want to assign a value, default value maybe 3, you can assign. Now let us talk about the rules of using the default value. Let us take, I cut this from here, or maybe I give a default value to this 20 and I do not give a default value to this. Now you get an error message. The error message is, let us come back and read that. Optional parameter cannot precede required parameters. Now what is the meaning of that? If you write just like this, int y, the meaning is it is a required, you must and should give a value to here. And if you assign a default value, then it becomes an optional parameter. And what it is telling? Optional parameter cannot precede. Optional parameter cannot precede the required parameter. That means all the optional parameters must and should be after the required parameters. So now x is a required parameter. This is an optional parameter. Let us take, you do not give this value, then what happens? This value will be taken to y. If you do not give this also, then you will get an error message. Reason is, you have to pass one value here because you told that this is a required parameter, guys. Let us save and come back. You see an error message. No overload for method display takes 0 arguments. It takes at least one argument you have to pass here, because this is not a default value. We have not assigned here default value. That means it is not optional. It is required. You have to pass a value. If you want to make that also optional, then simply you can give a value here also. No problem for that. So now this is the default value. This time if you run, if you do not give any value, it will display x10, y20. If you save, come back, this error will go away because we have given the default values. And if I run the code, you will see that 10, 20, right? And if I give a value 5, first parameter, so x is going to be 5, y is 20, you will see the output 5 and 20 now, right? 5, 20, you can see that. And let us take, if you pass both the values, let's take 7. This time 5 and 7 will be assigned to x and y, so you will get 5, 7. Save and come back and run the code. You can see that we got 5, 7. Let us see an example. Now I create one function which is going to display the name. Display name is a function which takes a string and the variable name is your name. So here this is a required parameter. You must and should pass the name here. So what you can do is you can say display and you have to pass display name, right? That is a function name. You have to pass a value here. Maybe I say unity. Then here I can say debug.log display your name. Simple. Okay, I just save it and I come back, I run the code. You can see that you got the unity. Very simple. That is okay. So you have passed the name and that name is stored here and displayed. Let us take, you do not want to pass. Okay, you do not want to pass. If you do not pass, then you want to give some default name. Let us take, that is going to be assigned here default. If you do not pass here any value, then it should display default here. If you pass your own value, then it will display unity. Okay, that value here. Now this time it will display unity only because we are passing here the value. Let me save and come back and I run the code. You can see that we got unity. Let us take, if I do not pass anything, I just save it. It should display now default here because we have given the default value to it. That's default. The string we have assigned is default. Let us run this one. You can see that we got default. That is how you can use default values. They are very useful. You can do many other different operations by using the default values also. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial.